Hello and happy Wednesday, friends. Today we are going on a little bit of a back roads tour as we work our way through the western Baltimore County backwoods. Now, why are we talking? You might be wondering. We're going to discuss a little bit about jet pumps and submersible pumps, what's the difference between the two of them, and which one is better, in my opinion. I've been asked this question a couple times, and recently I made a video, and some of the comments were challenging me on that, and I think it's fair to challenge me on those sorts of things, but I also think that it's important that we have a discussion because they're not wrong. I'm not entirely wrong. They're not entirely right, and neither am I. It all kind of comes down to what you need as a homeowner, and I want to give you a little bit of guidance of what are we talking about. So, before we do that, we need to discuss a little bit about what is a jet pump and what is a submersible pump. The first thing is jet pumps are typically older systems. They're most commonly seen in houses before 1970. You might see them every now and again in the 70s, but usually by the 70s, everybody was switching to submersibles. Jet pumps typically are going to have a shallower pumping depth. So that means not only your horizontal, but your vertical. At those depths, they are only really competent at 125 or less. Can you get them a little bit deeper? Yeah, you got to work at it a little bit, but usually most wells on a jet system are going to be 125 foot or less in total depth and in vertical or in horizontal placement. Submersible pumps, on the other hand, are in the well. They look more like a torpedo, and they're going to be pretty much in every system post the 70s. Submersible pumps are in the well. Jet pumps are typically in the basement. Now, on older homes, you might have a well pit, which is just a large open area outside somewhere below grade that the well is put in. You may also have a shed or a building designated specifically for the well. They're not as prevalent. Usually it'd be a pit or it'd be in the house somewhere. Jet pumps, in my opinion, are not as good, and the reason why is because of the sound. They are so much louder than a submersible pump. When the pump turns on, how both of these systems work is based off of a pressure switch. So the switch is going to turn the pump on over a predetermined pressure setting. Typically, you're going to see a 30-50 switch on jet pumps. Most commonly, on submersible pumps, you will see a 40-60 switch. What does that mean, you might be wondering? On a well system, the switch will turn on when the pressure drops to the cut-on location. Meaning, if you have a 30-50 switch, the pump will turn on at 30 psi. If you have a 30-50 switch, it will turn off at 50 psi. So it'll be a 20-point swing in the middle of those two numbers. A jet pump, when it turns on, will make a humming sound, or it'll be a loud noise depending on the size of the pump, the age of the pump, and where it's located in the house. I have a lot of homes that I've worked on where the jet pump is going to be so loud that you can actually hear it from the kitchen or the living room in the house. So noise is one of the largest issues that I see when it comes to a jet pump. Additionally, jet pumps also have a bit more parts that can go wrong and cause issues or water loss throughout the home. In the well, there's going to be a thing called a check valve. What a check valve is just going to prevent water from getting out of the pipe and back into the well itself. We refer to these as foot valves. It is a conical looking device that's going to have a little screen on it, and it's going to be at the bottom of the drop line. The drop line is the pipe that goes from the top of the ground all the way into the well. That's where the water comes out of the hole. So with a jet pump, that pipe needs to be full of water in order for the pump to actually get the water out of the hole. We refer to this as prime. If your pump loses prime, it will not suck water and it's going to be airbound. On a submersible pump, we don't have that problem. Typically what will happen with a jet pump is if you lose power or have a low yielding well and you run it for too long, if that foot valve fails for whatever reason, you might run into a problem of this thing losing its prime. If the well pump loses prime, you will not have water until you reprime it. The repriming process typically is to remove one of the bolts on top of the pump or open up the valve, depending, and then you physically fill it with water until you get the pipe full of water again. Sometimes this could be 4 to 7 gallons worth of water brought off site to refill the pipe. My main concern with a jet pump and the repriming process is bacterial contamination. No matter how clean you are or how good you are, the moment you open that pipe up, you are running the risk of potentially contaminating the water source. And the reason why is usually these pumps are in a gross environment. A lot of dust, a lot of debris in the air. So by opening it, you're running the risk of introducing that debris into the water line. To reprime the pump, you're going to keep refilling the pipe until it's full of water by literally taking a funnel, these gallons of water, and just dumping it into the pipe. Once it's full, you're going to take that pipe and plug it back into the pump or close the pump bolt, turn it on. And you got to let it burp a couple times to get rid of whatever air might still be in there. And at that point, now you're back in business. Let's just say that those gallons of water have been sitting in your basement for 4 or 5 months. Now you run the risk of that water having an expired plastic, and you're getting all that into your water source. Sometimes you'll even see people go down to the creek, give a spring, and they'll refill it at the creek and fill it up there. Again, gross, adding bacteria or potential for bacteria to your water. We've talked a lot about jet pumps, but we haven't really talked about submersibles. I think submersibles are superior, like hands down, because they're so much quieter, and as a homeowner, you don't have to pay as much attention to it. With a submersible pump, it's on or it's off. Typically, whenever you have a low-yielding well, the water will stop because the pump has nothing to pump up to the house. So, simply turning the pump off, waiting a little bit, turning it back on, the pump will basically be able to restart the water in the house. No more interference from you, no risk of disconnecting anything, and no problems of having to worry about bacteria. With a submersible pump, everything is sealed, so you could have a nice vermin-proof lid, a flood-proof lid if you're somewhere that has flood restrictions or flood potentials, and all of your plumbing in the house is going to be a sealed unit, so you don't have to worry about that debris or any potential intrusion points like you would on a submersible. Typically, like I said in the beginning, sound is the reason most people will move from a jet pump to a submersible. But the efficiency of a submersible is so much better in my opinion. You don't have as many moving parts. You have more moving parts for a submersible, but you don't have as many potential failure points as with a jet pump. Typically, jet pumps, I see most people having to reprime them quite often. Submersibles, yeah, you might have to replace it every 7 to 15 years. Sometimes, if you're lucky, 30 years. But once you replace it, you're back in business. You don't have to worry about repriming it. You don't have to worry about the check valve. You don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. It'll still work. It'll still do its job. Let me know, though, at your house, do you have a jet pump? Do you have a submersible? I'm very curious. I think this is interesting stuff that we need to be talking about. And let me know, how often do you prime your jet pump? Is it once a year? Every 4 years? Are you doing it every few months? Tell me. Let me know. I look forward to hearing your responses down below. As always, I have videos posted every day on the World of Well and Septic, and I look forward to talking to you all later.